Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, I really appreciate you stopping by and giving me a chance. I'm Prepping by Faith, and today I'm going to be sharing with you some prepping truth bombs. And they are going to be 5 big mistakes that I made when I first started out prepping. Now, this is going to be helpful to those of you who are new on your journey, but I think it's also going to be good information to share with those of you who have been prepping for a while. And maybe a lot of you guys can identify with some of these mistakes that I have made. I would love to also hear what kind of mistakes you guys have made along the way. If you will comment down below, that would be awesome so that we can share this information with each other and really learn and grow from it. So the first one that I wanted to share with you guys are plastic shelving units. So this is a big one that I think that we need to steer clear from. This is something that I did initially because I just wanted to save some money. The metal ones are a lot more expensive, and I figured with the weight limits and things marked on these plastic shelving units, they couldn't be wrong, right? Wrong. I was wrong. So, unless you are only planning on storing toothpicks and napkins on these things, I don't recommend plastic shelving units in any way. Eventually, they are going to begin to buckle in the middle and they are going to lose their structural integrity. Thankfully, I have not had any of them fall apart on me yet, but there are several that I still have in the corner over here that I need to replace. So, that is on my list of items to actually replace. And it doesn't have to just be plastic shelving units either. It could be anything in prepping where you have, invested as little as possible and you're expecting it to have all of this wonderful reward associated with it. Always research the items and read all of the reviews, especially filter out for the negative reviews. You're going to be able to tell whether or not there is a reoccurring problem with a specific item or product that you are looking at. So that way you are aware which items to steer clear from. I'm not in any way telling you guys to go out and buy the highest end of any items, but I do think that we need to go with a middle of the road item and really understand the threshold of those reviews and making sure that it is a solid product. Always go ahead and test them out if you can. Don't just leave them packed up. I'm guilty of that one as well. I do have several items that I haven't opened yet, and so I have no idea if these things are any good or not. So don't make my mistakes, don't repeat them. So the second one that I wanted to share with you guys is just hauling in preps without a plan. Now, this is something that I did at the beginning because I was thinking, oh, that's okay, I'll just shove it in a corner somewhere. Well, guess what? You run out of corners very quickly when you start doing that. And it doesn't take that many online orders or that many trips to the grocery store to really start building up on those items. So you really want to scout out a place ahead of time if you can. Obviously, something that is going to be climate controlled is going to be a better area for your prepping items, unless of course it's just gear or something like that that you've got that you could put out in your attic or in your garage. But most items you're going to want to keep in a climate controlled space. So one of the areas that you can store these in if you don't have a basement is just scouting out some space in a free room. One of the things that we did is we took over half of this study that I'm in, and I had a treadmill over there to begin with that we booted out and then went ahead and filled that with our preps and these different shelving units that we have in this room. Another thing you could do is take over a spare bedroom. If you have a guest bedroom, you can go ahead and fill that with some shelving units and really make some extra room for your preps. But you want to scout these areas out ahead of time because preps do have a large footprint associated with them and they will take up quite a bit of space. So the third big mistake that I made was purchasing way too many canned goods at the same time. Back in 2020, when the health crisis was really getting going, one of the things that I felt that we really needed to stock heavily up on that we didn't have a lot of were canned goods. And so I went into overdrive collecting all of these canned goods. And at the time, I'm thinking I'm doing a really great thing. I'm getting us stocked up. And it wasn't until the following year, probably about 6 months later, when I realized, well, everything has the same date on it. So now how are we going to get through all of these items and rotate them out appropriately if they're all going to come up on the same date? Now, as I've shared with you guys many times before, canned goods are good a lot longer than those Best Buy dates that are printed on the can. That is not a true expiration date, but you still don't want to stock up on items with all of the same date on them either. You want to take your time and really spread that out, spread those purchases out so that you can properly rotate through them a lot easier. So that is the other mistake that I made. So, number four, the fourth big mistake that I made was believing that a crisis would happen tomorrow. And I know that is one that I think a lot of people get sucked into when you first start prepping. You really get this idea in your head that the world is going to come apart at the seams immediately, that we all need to, go ahead and try to figure out how to afford a bunker and really put as much stuff in there as we possibly can, make sure we're ready for, a nuclear event right away, and all of these things. And I do think it's important that we take into account nuclear preparedness. That is something that I've mentioned on my channel many times, but there are things that you can do to mitigate those risks without going into lots of debt and picking up all of the fancy gear and other things that go with that. There are things that you can do there that are going to be more affordable. And so I would say really take the time to do your research and figure out which events or crises are most likely to take place, and what items would you need that would be able to be used across the board for all of those crises. So one of the things that we know we're going to need is, we know in any type of event we're going to need food, we're going to need water, we're going to need shelter, and it's always a good idea to have a way of cooking and heating and having medical on hand. So those are the areas that I would really focus heavily on, because that is going to be your sweet spot as far as what is applicable across the board. So, number five, the last one that I want to share with you guys, my last big mistake was assuming that I could learn every skill in a matter of minutes. And I think this is one that a lot of us fall into when we first start prepping. We think, oh my gosh, it can't be that big of a deal to learn how to build a fire, to use a ferro rod. It can't be that big of a deal to learn how to garden. All you need to do is throw a seed in the ground, right? And water it in. Well, there's a lot more to that. And I did share that with you guys recently on my other video that I shared with you guys, talking about the challenges that come with so many of these different tasks. And I think it's really important that we understand that it's going to take us time to learn these skills. We're not going to learn them in a few minutes or even a few days. And a lot of times we're not going to learn them in just a few months. It's going to take repetitive practice. It's going to take time. And anything that, we think is really important, we should be setting aside time and allocating time for that skill, and really carving that into our schedule, making it a part of our daily routines, and really taking time to immerse ourselves, whether it is studying out of a book how to do these things and then going ahead and practicing. But I think practice is one of those things that, like they say, makes perfect. Now, I don't agree that it's going to necessarily make perfect, but it's definitely going to get you a lot closer to that goal that you have for yourself. So these are my five big mistakes that I made. What are some of the mistakes that you guys have made? I would love to hear what you have to share with the community. Please comment down below. And if you guys have enjoyed this video today, please give me a like, share, and subscribe. And remember to pray, prep, and put God first. God bless.